The invisible forces of spirit are ever poised, ever waiting, and always willing to respond to the words spoken with faith. Money, though so often entangled in human fear and lack, is not separate from divine supply. It is merely one of its many channels. The world may speak of limitations, recession, struggle, and debt, but those who understand the laws of spiritual command know a different truth. That supply is infinite, and it flows freely when aligned with divine right order. Man was not created to toil in lack or worry about daily bread. He was made in the image and likeness of the Creator, and with that birthright comes dominion. Dominion over thoughts, words, and conditions. Your world is your word made manifest, and money is no exception. When you speak from the foundation of spiritual law, you activate the storehouses of the infinite. You command, not from ego, but from alignment with the source, and the universe must respond. Many believe money is earned by effort alone, but Spirit says it is received by alignment. It is drawn by faith, spoken into existence through unwavering words, and delivered through unexpected channels. You do not need to know how it will come. You only need to know that it will. The moment you remove fear from your vibration and speak with certainty, the channels begin to open. Let us not beg for money, nor chase it. Let us instead know that it is already ours in divine mind, waiting to be claimed by right of consciousness. You cannot receive what you do not claim. You cannot claim what you do not believe, and you cannot believe what you do not speak. Therefore, speak wealth. Speak freedom. Speak spiritual command over money and all it touches. There are no locked doors in the kingdom. The vaults of heaven swing open at the sound of faith-filled words. Begin to say, I now draw to myself an avalanche of money, under grace, in perfect ways. Let no thought contradict your declaration. Let no fear cast shadows on your vision. Know that money obeys spiritual law. And your word is law when aligned with truth. If you plant seeds of lack in your consciousness, you will harvest scarcity. But if you plant seeds of abundance, watered with faith and spoken word, the harvest shall be multiplied. No man, no institution, no economy can stand between you and your supply when your command comes from the authority of Spirit. It is not arrogance to speak prosperity. It is obedience to truth. The children of Spirit are not meant to suffer, they are meant to shine, to circulate good, and to prove the invisible laws of abundance to a world still bound in fear. By your demonstration, others shall awaken. So I say to you now, if you are ready, truly ready, to let go of fear, doubt, and all false beliefs about money, then prepare to speak with the voice of spiritual authority. Prepare to command the gold dust of the universe to gather around you. Prepare to unlock what has always been yours. Money is a channel of divine supply, not a source itself. This truth is essential for anyone who seeks to unlock spiritual abundance. The world teaches that money is the source of power, security, and success, yet this belief entraps many in fear and striving. True spiritual understanding reveals that money is simply a medium, a temporary tool through which the infinite power of the divine flows into form. It is not to be worshipped or feared, hoarded or chased. It is to be received, circulated, and commanded with confidence in the source behind it. When a person begins to shift their perception of money, they begin to dissolve the blocks that have kept it from flowing freely. Most people unknowingly worship money by placing it above faith. They believe their supply is tied to a job, a business, or a person. They say, if I lose this job, I will have nothing, or if my business fails, I'm finished. This is the illusion. Jobs and businesses are merely instruments. The source is Spirit. Spirit is never depleted. Spirit never withdraws. Spirit flows constantly, perfectly, and generously, and it requires only our recognition of its presence to begin its work. To think of money as a source is to limit what the universe can provide. When money becomes a false god, fear and control enter. One begins to grasp, to cling, to strive harder, and yet never feels secure. The heart says, more, and never rests. This is not true prosperity. This is bondage. Spiritual prosperity is freedom. It is knowing that one's supply does not depend on a particular outcome. It is faith in the unseen. unwavering trust in divine principle. The laws of supply are precise, but they are not confined to human logic. Spirit may provide through expected channels or unexpected ones. But the moment you declare that money is your source, you create walls. You close doors. You make yourself dependent on conditions. And conditions are fleeting. But when you realize money is only a channel, your relationship with it transforms. You stop begging for it. You stop fearing it. You stop thinking you must earn every penny with your sweat and tears. Instead, you align with grace. Divine supply is infinite. It knows no scarcity, no debt, no lack. It cannot be diminished by the economy, nor increased by effort alone. Its increase is a matter of consciousness. The more you trust it, the more it flows. The more you open to it, the more it pours in. You become magnetic, not to paper bills or coins, but to the spiritual essence that takes the form of all that you need and desire. Money flows to those who understand that they do not need it to survive. They need alignment. They need inner peace, clarity, and a firm spiritual foundation. When the inner is stable, the outer reflects it. Your bank account is often a mirror of your beliefs about supply. If you believe you must struggle for every dollar, you will struggle. If you believe others control your financial destiny, you give away your power. But if you believe that money is but a servant of spirit, and spirit is eternally generous, you will begin to live in a different financial reality. Many spiritual seekers shy away from money, believing it is unholy or corrupting. This is another illusion. Money is neutral. It has no moral value. It is energy. It takes on the consciousness of the one who uses it. In the hands of one aligned with spirit, it becomes a blessing. It builds, heals, supports, and uplifts. In the hands of one ruled by fear, it becomes a burden or a weapon. Therefore, it is not the money itself, but the belief behind it that determines its effect. You do not need to be afraid of having money, or of not having it. Fear only creates more conditions to fear. You need only to remember the source. Just as a river flows from its origin to the ocean, money flows from the source through various channels into your life. The river does not fear the rocks it meets along the way. It moves around them. It never stops. So too must your faith in supply remain fluid, unshaken by obstacles. When you see someone with great wealth, do not envy them. Envy says, "There's not enough for me." But gratitude says, "Their abundance proves mine is on its way." The universe is not stingy. It does not reward only a select few. It responds to consciousness. If someone commands wealth with certainty, backed by spiritual alignment, the universe must obey. The laws are impersonal like gravity. They do not judge, they respond. Most of the money blocks people experience come not from the outside world, but from within. Childhood beliefs, past traumas, ancestral stories, all can create patterns of resistance. But when one begins to declare, "Money is not my source. Spirit is my source," those patterns begin to dissolve. The soul remembers its birthright. It remembers that it came into this world supported by unseen forces, not left to wander alone in lack. It remembers that all needs are already met in divine mind. Every dollar that enters your life is evidence of spiritual activity. Even the coins you find on the sidewalk are symbols of alignment. You begin to receive with joy, not guilt. You begin to give with peace, not fear. You become a channel yourself, an agent of circulation for divine good. The more you receive, the more you are able to give. And the more you give from a place of spiritual integrity, the more you receive in return. Money is not to be idolized, but neither is it to be rejected. To reject money is to reject one of Spirit's tools. It is to say, "I do not trust how Spirit chooses to bless me." That is not humility. That is hidden pride. True humility says, "I receive all that is mine by divine right, in divine timing, and through divine channels." It does not limit the form. It does not argue with the outcome. It does not control the how. It simply trusts. To live from this truth requires courage. The world will tempt you to fall into old patterns, to panic over bills, to obsess over income, to chase opportunities out of fear. But every time you choose trust instead of fear, you reinforce the foundation. Every time you speak the truth, Spirit is my supply, money is my channel. You rewire your reality. The world will shift to match your conviction. Spiritual command activates infinite abundance. This truth is the cornerstone of all demonstration. For nothing moves in the invisible without the spoken word. The universe does not respond to wishful thinking or half-hearted desires. It responds to authority, spiritual authority. When a soul rises in consciousness and speaks from the deep conviction of alignment with divine law, the entire structure of reality begins to reshape itself in accordance with that word. Spiritual command is not shouting into the void. It is not demanding from ego. It is the calm, unwavering, vibrational decree of one who knows their unity with the source of all things. Abundance is not something we chase or earn. It is something we allow and command. It exists already, here and now. In the unseen realm of spiritual substance, most people walk through life believing they are separate from this substance, believing they must earn their portion through struggle or be lucky enough to stumble upon it. But spiritual truth reveals that there is no separation. What we seek is already within and around us, waiting for instruction. Spiritual command is the instruction. Just as a captain steers a ship with clear direction, so must we steer our lives with clear command. Confusion, fear, doubt. These are the winds that scatter intention and delay manifestation. But the one who speaks a word of truth, backed by unshakable faith, sends out a force that nothing in the physical realm can resist. It is not the tone of the voice that matters, but the authority of consciousness behind it. A whisper filled with spiritual certainty is louder in the invisible than 1,000 shouts of uncertainty. The principle is simple yet profound. What you decree with faith, you draw into form. You are not begging the universe, you are activating it. You are not hoping something good will come your way, you are summoning it. This is not arrogance, it is obedience to spiritual law. You were given dominion through your word. The creative power of speech, imbued with intention and faith, is the same power through which all things were formed. The word is still alive, still active, still ready to fulfill whatever command is given in alignment with truth. People often pray from a place of need, begging for a change in circumstances. But begging is not commanding. Begging says, I am separate from my good. Commanding says, my good is mine now by divine right. One is rooted in fear and scarcity, the other in truth and authority. Spiritual command lifts the soul out of the valley of limitation and places it on the mountaintop of realization. It is here, on this mountaintop, that infinite abundance becomes visible and accessible. Infinite abundance does not mean just money. It means the fullness of life, ideas, energy, resources, opportunities, support, favor, divine timing, health, joy, peace, and all forms of good. All these are aspects of spiritual abundance, and all are available to the one who speaks their word in faith. The moment you declare, divine substance is now taking form as my supply, you set forces into motion that begin organizing around that truth. You don't need to know how. You need only to keep the command pure, free from contradiction, unwavering in tone. Doubt dilutes the command. Fear delays it. Contradictory words of worry, complaint, or limitation, act like static that interferes with the transmission of spiritual instruction. This is why discipline of thought and speech is so crucial. Every word must be watched. Every declaration must be chosen. Words are not idle. They are seeds. Spiritual command is the act of planting with precision and knowing that harvest is guaranteed when rooted in truth. Some people say affirmations without authority, hoping repetition will force belief. But repetition without realization is noise. Spiritual command is not about the number of times something is said. It is about the vibration with which it is said. You can speak one sentence in absolute truth and move more energy than pages of written affirmations spoken in doubt. When you say, I now command infinite abundance to flow to me under grace, in perfect ways, and you believe it, truly believe it, you are not asking for permission. You are stepping into alignment with a law that cannot fail. The invisible realm is filled with unexpressed good, waiting for instruction. Spirit never withholds. It only waits for the right signal. The signal is your word, filled with belief. The greater the belief, the more precise the manifestation. Every lack, every delay, every obstruction in life is a sign that spiritual command has either not been given or has been overridden by fear and contradiction. The moment you realign and speak again, with power and certainty, the way clears. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of the world. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a spiritual being with the authority to command good into your life. The world around you is shaped by the world within you, and the bridge between the two is your spoken word. When you declare prosperity, peace, success, love, or healing, you are not creating something new. You are allowing what already exists in divine mind to take form in your experience. This power is not reserved for saints or mystics. It belongs to all who recognize it and use it rightly. It is not based on religion, background, or past mistakes. It is based on alignment. Anyone who chooses to align with spiritual truth and speaks from that place becomes a creative force. You do not have to be perfect. You have to be present. Present with the truth. Present with the word. Present with the authority of spirit that speaks through you. There is no situation too fixed, no condition too hardened, that cannot be reshaped by spiritual command. Even mountains move when spoken to with faith. And if a mountain can move, so can debt, so can illness, so can broken relationships, blocked opportunities, and dry seasons. The spiritual law does not ask how long a condition has been present. It only asks what word is being spoken now. What are you commanding now? What are you allowing now? What are you claiming now? Your word is your wand, not a magic trick, but a spiritual instrument. When used with wisdom, clarity, and confidence, it becomes the key to infinite supply. You are not here to survive. You are here to command and demonstrate. Each time you speak truth with authority, you declare your dominion. Each time you affirm abundance with faith, you affirm your union with Source. You do not beg for overflow. You open the floodgates with your word. And the floodgates respond to certainty. They respond to alignment. They respond to the spiritual command that knows no lack, no fear, and no failure. Your words shape your financial reality. This is not a poetic idea or motivational sentiment. It is spiritual law in action. Words are not passive sounds that fade into silence. They are seeds planted in the fertile soil of consciousness, each carrying within it the pattern of the harvest it will bring. When you speak of lack, you plant lack. When you speak of fear, you water fear. But when you speak of abundance, provision, and divine supply, you begin to reorder the very substance of your experience to reflect those truths. The universe is listening, not to your surface level wishes, but to the deep vibration of your spoken word. In the unseen, words are blueprints. Every word spoken in conviction becomes a mold through which spirit pours its infinite substance. You cannot expect wealth and speak poverty. You cannot hope for increase and speak doubt. The vibration of your voice carries the command of your faith, and the world you live in cannot help but mirror it. This is not superstition, it is spiritual mechanics. The universe is constructed to obey the direction of consciousness, and consciousness is most powerfully expressed through the word. A person may study the laws of prosperity, read spiritual books, and meditate regularly, but if their words contradict their desires, the results will always reflect the contradiction. You cannot plant one kind of seed and reap another. Words are living forces. They are creative and precise. The word can't builds a wall. The word impossible shuts a door. The word lack dries up a river. But the word now, spoken in faith, opens a gate. The word flow invites circulation. The word abundance calls for manifestation. This is why the practice of guarding your speech is not just spiritual discipline, it is spiritual power. Every careless phrase, every dramatic complaint, every habitual statement of lack is not just a venting of emotion, it is a declaration. The universe does not read intention behind sarcasm. It responds to tone, vibration, belief. If you speak of being broke, even as a joke, you reinforce the frequency of financial constriction. The law does not distinguish between the serious and the casual. It only mirrors the command. You do not have to be perfect with your words, but you must be deliberate. You must begin to train the tongue to serve the truth rather than the condition. Speak not of what the eyes see, but of what the spirit knows. If your bank account is low, do not declare, "I'm out of money." Declare instead, "Divine supply is now flowing to me through rich, unexpected channels." If bills are due, do not say, "I can't afford this." Say, "All my needs are now met by the abundant hand of spirit." This is not denial of reality. It is the reshaping of it. The spoken word overrides the seen condition. It pulls the invisible into the visible. It challenges appearances not with aggression, but with certainty. You do not argue with lack, you replace it. You do not fight scarcity, you speak truth over it. Every time you say, "I am provided for," you release energy into the field of experience that goes to work on your behalf. Every time you say, "Money comes to me with ease," you reprogram the subconscious mind and redirect the creative forces of life. Your words are not only heard by the universe, they are heard by your own being. Your subconscious is always listening, always recording, always taking instruction. When you repeatedly say something, the subconscious accepts it as law. It will begin to organize your behavior, perception, and attraction to reflect that belief. So if you say, "Money is hard to come by," the subconscious will subtly push away opportunities, ignore solutions, and magnetize delay. But if you say, "I live in the flow of endless wealth," it will begin to notice ideas, people, and channels that match that vibration. There is a vast difference between repeating affirmations and declaring truth. Repetition without belief is hollow. But when words are infused with faith and conviction, they become spiritual instruments. To speak truth is to activate truth. To declare abundance is to unlock it. To claim provision is to summon the form that matches it. This is the nature of spiritual law. It obeys the energy behind the word. It is not bound by logic, by timing, or by probability. It is bound only by alignment. You may not see results instantly, but the moment a new word is spoken, a new cause is set in motion. Some words act as lightning, manifesting with speed. Others are more like seeds planted in deep soil, taking time to root before appearing. But all words, once spoken with intention, move energy. They do not vanish. They shape the field. They influence the unfolding. This is why every declaration must be consistent. Faith-filled speech cannot be followed by fearful speech. You cannot say, "I receive my supply," one day and the next say, "Nothing ever works out for me," without disrupting the flow. Your financial reality is a reflection of the dominant words you have spoken over time. If you want to change your money story, change your money language. Begin to saturate your life with words of increase. Speak them over your wallet, your home, your work, your bank account, your future. Say them aloud, say them often. Say them as truth, not as hope. I am wealthy. I am supported. My income exceeds my needs. I give and receive freely. I live in divine abundance. These are not fantasies. They are spiritual commands, issued by one who understands their creative power. There is no need to explain or justify your declarations to anyone. The word works in silence as well as sound. It works in the secret place of your consciousness and reveals itself in the outer world when the time is ripe. Others may mock, doubt, or argue, but you remain rooted. You do not argue with results. You do not defend your truth. You speak it, you live it, you become it. Money is not your master, your word is. You command the substance of your life not through hustle alone, but through speech aligned with spirit. This is not permission to be passive, it is empowerment to be intentional. Work may be a channel, but the word is the cause. Opportunities may be doors, but your speech is the key. There is no lack in spirit. There is only the frequency you choose to speak from. And when you speak from truth, when you speak from knowing, when you speak from the spiritual seat of authority, the whole of creation listens and responds. Faith, not effort, magnetizes wealth. This spiritual law runs contrary to much of the world's programming, where effort is idolized and striving is seen as the path to success. While honest work has its place, It is not the source of wealth. It is merely one possible channel through which wealth can arrive. The root cause, the real magnet, is faith. Faith is the invisible force that aligns the inner with the outer, the unseen with the seen, the spiritual with the material. It is faith that opens doors where effort alone finds only walls. It is faith that prepares the soil so that any effort made becomes fruitful, efficient, and divinely supported. Most people are taught from early childhood that hard work is the key to abundance. They are told that the more hours they put in, the more deserving they become, and that struggle is noble. But spiritual law does not operate on merit or exhaustion. Spirit does not reward effort, it responds to alignment. A person can work day and night, carry burdens, and push through resistance and still remain in lack, while another, with calm inner conviction and clarity of purpose, speaks the word in faith and watches resources gather effortlessly. This is not because life is unfair, but because the laws of manifestation are not activated by toil, they are activated by consciousness. Faith is not wishful thinking. Faith is deep, inner certainty that what is not yet seen already exists in the spiritual realm and is now making its way into form. Faith does not hope, it knows. Faith does not plead, it receives. Faith sees the invisible, hears the inaudible, and acts in alignment with the unseen truth, not with appearances. Where others see delay, faith sees divine timing. Where others see lack, faith sees supply and preparation. Where others see impossibility, faith stands firm and declares the opposite. To magnetize wealth with faith means to cultivate a state of consciousness so attuned to the infinite supply of spirit that the idea of lack becomes foreign. This state is not achieved by forcing positive thoughts or suppressing fear. It is cultivated through trust, practice, spiritual understanding, and inner agreement with the truth of divine source. Faith grows when it is exercised. It grows when, despite the outer appearances, you choose to speak the truth anyway. It grows when you look at an empty wallet and still declare, "All things are now working together for my financial good." It grows when you cease to chase and begin to trust. Wealth is a frequency. It is a spiritual vibration long before it becomes money in hand. Faith tunes you to that vibration. Effort alone often drags your energy into strain, worry, and obsession. But faith lifts your vibration, places you on the plane of ease, and aligns you with the laws that govern supply. When you radiate faith, you no longer repel your good with desperation. You magnetize it by becoming the match for it. What you believe with deep feeling and expectation is drawn to you like a magnet, without force, without chase. This is why those who live in true abundance often appear calm. They are not frantically busy. They are not always grinding or over-scheduling their lives. They are centered. They move with direction, not pressure. They act, but their action is inspired and graceful. Their actions are not to get wealth. They are expressions of alignment with wealth already received in the spiritual realm. Their faith precedes their movement. They do not act to believe, they believe, and then they act. This principle explains why many who work the hardest remain in scarcity. It is not a punishment, but a misalignment. They have been conditioned to believe that they must prove themselves worthy of money, that rest is weakness, that burnout is noble. But spiritual truth does not require sacrifice of soul, it requires surrender of fear. Faith releases the tension. It says, "I do not have to know the way, I only need to know that the way is being made." And in that surrender, in that knowing, the universe begins to deliver what force could never accomplish. Faith magnetizes ideas. It draws solutions, inspirations, and strategies that no amount of striving could manufacture. When you move in faith, you become receptive. Your mind opens, your perception shifts, and the right people, opportunities, and resources begin to flow towards you. You are no longer pushing through doors. You are watching them open at your approach. You are no longer knocking on walls. You are walking paths paved by spiritual guidance. This is not laziness, it is spiritual intelligence. It is mastery over the law. Effort without faith often produces temporary results. A person may gain money through stress, struggle, and overwork, only to lose it quickly through chaos, burnout, or fear-driven decisions. But wealth created through faith is sustained. It is supported by the same power that created it. It is not fragile. It is not a fluke. It is the outpicturing of inner certainty. That which comes by grace stays by grace. That which comes by striving must be constantly maintained through more striving. But what faith draws in, faith sustains. To live by faith is not to sit passively and wait. It is to become a vibrational match to your desire by knowing it is already yours in divine mind. From that place of certainty, actions are taken, not from panic but from prompting. When you feel moved to call someone, apply for something, start a project, or speak a declaration, you do so not to cause the result, but because you are already in agreement with its arrival. Faith expresses itself through peaceful action. There is no hurry, no fear, no control, only agreement with the flow. When people begin to replace striving with trusting, they often feel uneasy at first. The nervous system has been conditioned to equate business with value. But true spiritual wealth asks for stillness first. It asks that you create space in your heart and mind for the good that is already trying to reach you. The moment you stop chasing, doubting, and resisting, and begin to affirm, receive, and expect, you shift into the field where all things are possible. You do not need to exhaust yourself to earn your good. You need to remember who you are in spirit. You are not separate from your supply. You are not unworthy of overflow. You are not abandoned by the universe. These are illusions born of fear. Faith cuts through those illusions like light through shadow. It reorders the atmosphere around you. It changes the tone of your voice, the way you walk, the way you listen, the way you choose. It makes you magnetic, not only to wealth but to every expression of good. Faith holds the vision even when the outer world appears barren. Faith declares increase even when numbers say decrease. Faith gives thanks before the money arrives, because it already knows it has. This knowing is not but is powerful. It is the act of aligning with the higher law, the law that says your supply is spiritual and therefore unlimited. That law does not fail. It cannot be manipulated, but it can always be trusted. Faith is your access point. Faith is your portal. Faith is the currency of heaven. And when it is strong, steady, and spoken aloud, it begins to draw into your life all that is yours by divine right. Claiming prosperity aligns you with spiritual law. This is a truth that transcends appearances and penetrates to the very core of manifestation. To claim something spiritually is not merely to wish for it or to hope it might arrive. To claim is to take hold of it in consciousness, to declare with authority that it is already yours in the invisible, and to expect its outpicturing in the visible without anxiety or doubt. The act of claiming establishes dominion. It sets spiritual law in motion. It signals to the universe that you are no longer begging, no longer wavering, no longer asking from lack, but are instead receiving from truth. Spiritual law does not respond to confusion or contradiction. It responds to clarity, certainty, and alignment. When you claim prosperity, you step into your spiritual inheritance. You move from the posture of the servant to the position of the heir. Prosperity is not something you have to earn through effort alone or plead for from an indifferent universe. It is a divine right, something encoded into your being by your connection to Source. But like all spiritual gifts, it must be claimed to be received. The door may be open, but unless you walk through it, you remain outside. Many speak of abundance but never truly claim it. They say the words but carry in their hearts the vibration of unworthiness, doubt, or hesitation. They affirm wealth with their lips but deny it with their inner dialogue. Claiming requires unity of thought, word, and feeling. It is a full body, full soul declaration that does not flinch in the face of appearances. To claim prosperity is to choose your identity in spirit over the identity assigned to you by the world. It is to say, I am not my bank balance. I am not my debts. I am not the financial struggles of my past. I am a divine idea supported by infinite substance, now expressing wealth in perfect form. Spiritual law is impersonal and precise. It is always working, whether you understand it or not. Just as gravity does not pause because someone is unaware of it, spiritual law does not delay because someone doubts. It reflects your dominant state of consciousness. If you consistently speak from lack, it will organize itself around lack. If you consistently claim prosperity, it must organize itself around that claim. The law cannot deny what you accept as true. Therefore, your task is not to force anything to happen, but to claim what is already yours in spiritual reality and allow it to unfold according to divine timing. When you claim prosperity, you begin to shift your inner atmosphere. You walk differently. You think differently. You stop participating in conversations about struggle as if they are the highest truth. You become careful with your language, not out of fear, but out of reverence for your power. You do not say, "I hope things turn around," because hope implies uncertainty. You say, "My good is here now," because spiritual law moves according to now. It does not delay unless you delay it with doubt. It is ready, always ready, to manifest the pattern you give it. Claiming prosperity also means releasing guilt about having more. Many people sabotage their abundance because they feel it is selfish to be wealthy when others have less. But spiritual law does not work through guilt. It works through truth. You cannot help the world by shrinking your light or refusing your good. In fact, the more you claim, the more you are able to circulate. The more you receive, the more you can give. True prosperity includes others. It multiplies blessings. It creates flow, not hoarding. To claim your wealth is not to take from someone else. It is to align with the source of all wealth, which is infinite. Every claim you make sends a vibration into the ethers, a signal that begins drawing form to you. If you say, "I now claim financial freedom," and you feel that truth deeply, you begin to magnetize ideas, people, and opportunities that reflect that claim. If you say it once and then spend the rest of the day worrying, the vibration becomes scattered. But if you remain firm in the claim, if you speak it again and again with conviction, not to convince but to affirm, you begin to live in alignment. That alignment is what brings the outer into harmony with the inner. Claiming is not just a mental exercise, it is a spiritual stance. It is posture, presence, decision. It says, "I no longer identify with lack, I identify with supply." And from that decision, everything begins to change. You start to recognize abundance everywhere. In nature, in timing, in grace, in creativity. You stop chasing money and start commanding it, not as a tyrant but as a steward. You understand that the claim is not for ego, but for divine expression. You are not claiming to boast. You are claiming to fulfill your role as a channel of good. To align with spiritual law through claiming is to speak the language of the infinite. It is to stand in the truth that substance is everywhere, waiting for instruction, and that your words, when spoken with faith, are the instructions. You do not need to explain how it will come. You do not need to orchestrate every detail. The law is the orchestrator. Your part is to hold the tone, to keep the vibration steady, to remain in the consciousness of receiving. You say, "I now claim an overflow of money for every right purpose," and you expect to see evidence. Not because you're entitled in the worldly sense, but because you are aligned in the spiritual sense. People may ask, "How do I know what to claim?" The answer is simple: claim what is yours by right of spiritual identity. Claim sufficiency. Claim more than enough. Claim peace around money. Claim ease in receiving. Claim wisdom in spending. Claim joy in giving. You are not claiming from greed, but from grace. You are not hoarding riches, you are opening gates. You are saying to the universe, "I am ready to be a demonstration of what is possible when one lives by spiritual law." When fear arises, as it often does, you do not retreat from the claim. You reinforce it. You speak it louder, not in volume but in conviction. You say, "I may feel fear, but I do not identify with it. I identify with truth." And the fear passes. The doubt dissolves. The law responds. Your good may come in ways you never expected, in timing you did not plan, in forms that surprise you. But the essence of what you claimed will come. The vibration will not go unanswered. In claiming prosperity, you become a co-creator, not just a consumer. You stop reacting and start directing. You become an active participant in the unfolding of your good. You understand that what you do with what you have matters, but what you believe about what you have is even more powerful. The spiritual atmosphere you cultivate is the mold, the container, the magnet. When you fill that space with strong, confident claims, you begin to attract the substance that fills it. You begin to embody the principle that claiming is not asking, it is receiving. You begin to live as if what you desire is already yours, because in spirit it is. And when your inner world says yes without hesitation, the outer world must rise to meet it.